So just to remind y'all, we spoke last class about what does adult life actually cost. So with those two scenarios where we had a net income of $4,000 versus what was it, 26 or 28, $2,200? I don't remember what it was. Um, with using the national average of certain expenses, just to give a kind of a rough idea. Um, that doesn't mean that you're going to have a job making $60,000 and only have this amount left over. There are You don't have to get what that said. These are just using national averages. Um, but the important thing is to remember to plan for this type of stuff. So have an idea about how much things cost, um, know what you can afford, and make a budget, which is what we're actually going to be doing today. So we ended with last time saying if money disappears this fast, how do adults stay in control? Do people just wing it? Do adults just hope they don't overspend? And what happens if they don't have a plan? I think it's different for everybody. I know that like people that typically have a little more money have are maybe a little more strict towards their budget, but maybe that's not the best thing for them. Um, maybe they're missing out on things that you want and you're able to manage, but maybe you don't have as much money, but you don't maybe you overspend from time to time. But the key is that we want to make sure that we have an idea about how much we have available, and and create a budget so we don't get into a spot where we're overspending and become irresponsible with our money. So yeah, some people do probably just wing it, and they might find themselves in trouble when they do. Other people may wing it and they're fine. So it really is kind of based off of individual circumstances and stuff. Um, Maybe people just having a more, they know about how much they make every month. They already have things locked into place. And so they're just really kind of managing their free money, maybe type of stuff. Not free money, but like leftover money. Um, so what happens if people don't have a plan? Once again, it really kind of just depends. Like uh, on the individual. But I think it's important going forward knowing what budgeting is and what type of tool and how it can help you not get in a position to where if you don't know how to manage money, you should at least know this first so then you can make adjustments later on as to how much you want to budget and how you plan on doing this. So, um, going along with today's stuff, day 3, introducing budgeting. Um, what is budgeting? It is a plan for how you spend and save your money. A budget is not meant to restrict you, just to kind of keep you in, and not really keep you in check, but just to kind of uh, maybe hold you accountable and make you think about things. Like if you budget yourself to have a car payment of $200 and you go to the dealership and you find that you have a car payment of $305, that's quite a bit different. Now, $205, you can probably make that work. That's only $5 difference. But if you budgeted, meaning you put 20% allotted for your car payment towards your entire net monthly income, you only have 80% left to go towards all these other things we talked about last time. So if you go from a payment of $200 that's, let's say, was 20% of your budget for your car, well, and now you end up saying, I'm going to spend 350. Well, that's quite a bit more than 20% of your budget. So now you're locked in at that 20 whatever percent that would be, but now something has to give somewhere else. Okay, so that's kind of the idea here. Go back, and it's really just kind of meant to try to protect you, to make sure and keep you yeah, protect you. So why does budgeting matter? Budgeting matters because it helps prevent overspending. It also helps you reach your goals, and these are in your notes. Reduces financial stress, and then it helps you avoid debt. So a couple questions just to ask. I mean, obviously, if you're watching this video, you're not going to answer me, but which one sounds most important to you? And why do people avoid budgeting if it helps? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's control. They feel like budgeting has control, but you're the one that makes it. So it's like, um, which one sounds more important? So things to consider. All right. Speaking of budgeting, before we start getting into that, let's talk about needs versus wants for a second. So think about some examples of a need versus want. So is uh, is eating food a need? Yes. Is eating out a need? No. Um, and why might I ask that? Well, eating food you need, but eating out is obviously more expensive than cooking something at the house. And then eating ramen noodles. Is the $60,000 car a need? What about Netflix or high speed internet? Are those things that are considered needs or wants? Needs equal required for survival of basic living. Wants are improving your lifestyle, but not required. So I would encourage you to take 1 minute to write two needs that are not already mentioned and two wants that are not already mentioned in your notes. These are personal to you. So two needs and two wants. All right. And now we're going to go through this budgeting guideline. This is a guideline. These are not rules. We'll talk about this housing more later in a few units, actually, our last unit of the year. Um, we're not going to really do we'll talk about transportation, but not in terms of budgeting. But we're going to start off with housing. Housing is typically your biggest expense. Um, and they'll say to typically budget for housing somewhere between 25 to 35% of your net income goes towards housing. And then transportation, we can say 10 to 15%. Savings, less than or equal to 10%. Debt, including student loans, we want to keep that relatively low. And then wants, we want that to be somewhat flexible. Okay, so I would start somewhere around these percentages and then build from there. We obviously, when we're building a budget, we want everything in that budget to add up to 100%, even if you have a column that says wants. That way, you know you have this amount available every month for just free money, things that you want. So, scenario going back to our $4,000 a month. Hold on. Oh, let me ask, going back to this. So, these are not rules, right? What happens if you end up buying a house that is 50% of what you make? What does that mean for the other things? Something's got to give, right? Like if you're budgeting and you're trying to like budget 100% of your net income and you put 50% towards your house, well, that means that something in your transportation's got to give. Um, your savings, your debt can't really give. You have to pay that off. But what ends up usually happening is like the debt is something like if you have student loans, you've got to pay that every month. Your car payment, you pay that every month. Your house, you pay that every month. So what ends up happening is you sacrifice things like savings, which is what you need to be doing, saving for your future, and you don't contribute to that. And then maybe you don't get what you want as much, which is okay. All right. So scenario, you make 4,000 a month. You spend 3,900 bucks. Hopefully, we all know the answer to this. Is that good? No, we're talking about monthly. So, what happens if your car breaks down or you lose hours at work? Okay, this money that we have left over, how much is left over? 100 bucks. That's called our margin. So, what is margin? Why does margin matter? Margin is the money left over after necessities. Okay, so when we talk about margin, The real purpose of budgeting is budgeting creates margin. Margin is money left over after necessities. So, your financial life is about to begin. Tomorrow, you're going to actually choose a career. That choice will determine your income, and your income determines your budget. Your budget determines your lifestyle, and this builds, well, no, sorry, the last part, never mind. Um, Tomorrow, you will choose your career. That choice will determine your income. Your income determines your budget, and your budget determines your lifestyle. And that's what we're going to get into.